Good day, so let's talk about Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995.
Section 3 covers three main areas. So first one is in workplace. So this includes your bosses, managers, co-workers, and trainers. So for the second one, in schools and training centers. So this means supervisors, teachers, coaches, and students can be held accountable. And third, in any relationship where there is a power difference. So what is this? Basically, it applies to anyone who is in a position of authority over someone else. And what is sexual harassment? So sexual harassment is committed by persons in authority positions. So it includes employers and academic supervisors. It also involves demanding any sexual favor, unlawful regardless of the victim's response, and applies to work and educational settings.
Section 3 has two categories, 3A and 3B. What sexual harassment looks like? Workplace under Section 3A. When the sexual harassment happen or committed, one form is when a sexual favor is demanded in exchange for a job benefit. For example, if a boss implies that you need to go on a date, then to get a promotion, or if they threaten to fire you if you refuse their advances, holding without your comment, that is harassment. These kinds of harassment also impairs your rights as a worker. It violates the protections you have under labor laws and diminish your rights to a fair and safe work environment. You know, when harassment happens, those rights, our rights, are violated. You're no longer being judged on your skills, but on whether you complied with an unwanted demand. This can block your path to advancement. It can create unfair advantages for others, and humiliately, it diminishes your opportunity to build a career based in merit and hard work. That's why the law is stepped in to protect those fundamental rights from being inspired by this kind of abuse. But harassment isn't always about a direct traits. It can be also about the environment. Example, if a coworker or boss constantly leads a jokes, shares up inappropriate content, or invades your personal space, making an office feel intimidating or offensive, that also counts as sexual harassment. You have a right to work in an environment that isn't hostile, so let's be careful also to our actions. Somehow, okay, it can be an harassment. So these are category of sexual harassment committed in our workplace.
Let's move on to section 3B. It talks about an education or training environment. Sexual harassment is committed in what way? Let's talk about this. Okay, student under care. So let's talk about school. This is especially close to home for us. So it says here that it's a major violation when a person in a position of trust, like a teacher, your coach, or advisor, harasses someone they are supposed to be guiding and protecting. Or for example, a PE teacher who only gives playing time or another extra activities to athletes who agree to go on dates with him or her. Or for example, again, a club advisor who makes unwanted advances, touch your arm, your shoulder, or back during your conversation that makes you feel uncomfortable even when you move away. Another clear is abuse of power. This happens when someone in authority completely twists the role from mentor to manipulator. Or for example, your thesis advisor or teacher who only gives a valuable feedback or research opportunities to you or to students who agree to do personal favors for them. O agad sa research, basta kakain kayo sa Hidden Ridge. Yun, something like that. These are not just inappropriate action, but as a teacher, they're a deep betrayal of responsibility that comes with the role. Oh no, they are harming the person that they are supposed to teach, twisting the role from a protector of your education into a tool of their own gratification. This ruins the entire teacher-student relationship. Next one is, we are very familiar with this, grades for favor. Okay, here's a scenario we can all understand. So when a teacher or your professor implies that your academic success depends on a special favor, okay, somehow in the scenario is like this: the teacher telling a struggling student, okay, my beautiful student, I can help you pass this course, I can give you scholarship, you need to discuss it over dinner at my place. Okay, let's be clear, your grades, your recommendations, your scholarship should be earned through your intelligence and hard work, period, your hard work and intelligence. When they're held hostage for personal gain, that is not negotiation. It's harassment.
Hostile learning environment. Just like at work, the vibe in classroom matters. If unwanted advances, comments, or threats makes you dread going to class, that's a holistic learning environment. The law recognizes that this kind of atmosphere can be just as damaging as a direct demand for favors. Okay, now let's move on to Republic Act 7877. This section talks about what organizations should actually do. It's not just about punishing people after something happens, okay? It's also about preventing sexual harassment before even it starts. School, offices, or training centers should make everyone feel safe and respected. They need to have a clear rules and step on how to report if something happens, and they must take actions right away. In short, it's their duty to protect everyone. Hindi pwedeng bahala na si victim. The organization really needs to do something.
Okay, now we're going to talk about who is in the investigation committee. Okay, when someone reports a case, there's a special group that handles it. It's called the Committee on Decorum and Investigation, or what we call CDI. In workplaces, this committee has representatives, whether from the employee, from management, or the labor union if there's one. That means it's not only the boss who's deciding, who's going to decide. Because the goal is to make sure that the case is handled properly, privately, and with respect. Walang chismis, walang bias, just a fair investigation for everyone. Okay, we see that's how it works in every offices or workplace. But what about us? What about for us students and teachers? Who is in the investigation committee in schools and in training centers? Okay, so in schools or training centers, the setup is almost the same with the workplace, but with a twist. The members of the committee include people from the admin, the teachers, and also the students or trainees. So ayun, lahat may bosses, hindi lang teachers or admin ang may say. Everyone has the right to say something. Everyone has their voice to speak up. It's not only the higher ups who has the privilege to open up something, okay? So the purpose of this is to make sure that the investigation are fair and confidential. Because let's be real here. A lot of students are scared to speak up when something happens. But with this kind of committee, the CDI, they can report safely and know that their complaint will be taken seriously. Alright, now we've already talked about how organizations handle cases inside. But what about outside? Like when the media gets involved. Okay, let's talk about the protection from media misuse. Okay, this part of the law is all about protecting the victim's privacy, especially from the media. The law says that the victim's name, photo, or any detail that could reveal their identity should never ever be shown or published. Why? It's because these cases are sensitive. Because instead of helping, media exposure can sometimes cause more pain or embarrassment. So the law reminds everyone that justice should prevail and not gossip. Let's protect people involved and not make things worse. Okay, now that we have understand how the law protects and handle cases, let's end with a big question. Why is Republic Act 7877 really important? Okay, so this law is super important because it protects people from sexual harassment, whether you're at school, at work, or in training. It teaches everyone to respect each other and to behave properly. It also makes sure that when something happens, schools and workplaces actually take action and they don't just ignore it. Because this law promotes fairness, safety, and respect for all. At the end of the day, Republic Act 7877 reminds us that everyone, regardless of who they are, deserves to feel safe, deserves to be respected, and they deserve to be valued. Because that's what makes this law so meaningful. Alright, this ends our report about Republic Act 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. Thank you so much everyone for listening, and I hope you learned well, and I hope that we all remember to respect others and to always speak up when something's not right. We are Group 7, and thank you so much for listening. Good day.